over-generous introduction. It's a very special honor to get an award instituted in the name of Dr. Swaminathan. He is my hero. He is a legend. He is a hero for the whole country. He is a person who has inspired generations of young people to dream big and to dream of doing public service. I am proud to say that I am one of them who have been inspired by him, and my special occasion is already over. It was a very proud moment for me to meet Professor Swaminathan in the morning today and get his blessings. Why is our work on natural farming so important? Friends, it was already mentioned, we are facing an existential crisis, the climate emergency, and this manifests in multiple crises. Crisis in food production, farmers' livelihoods, crisis in food security, safety, and nutritional integrity of what we are eating. And of course, huge crisis in environment, disappearing soils, water crisis, biodiversity crisis, and on top of it, the global warming. I think the UN Secretary General has now upgraded it from global warming to global melting, hoping that people will wake up. And things are going to get worse if we do not respond appropriately and in time. And all these crises are interrelated. You all know that food production is under severe threat on account of climate emergency. But did you know that the way we produce food is one of the major causes of these multiple crises? And that is the irony. According to UN Environment, 34% of the global greenhouse gas emissions is on account of the food system. Is there a solution to all these problems? Yes, there is. The only solution for these interlinked multiple emergencies is mimicking Mother Nature in the way we farm. Very simple and doable. We have to move away from destructive farming to regenerative farming. We have to move away from conventional farming to organic farming, from chemical farming to natural farming. These were initiated long ago by Professor Swaminathan when he spoke of the evergreen revolution. And the solution I am talking about is a solution which is available today and not in some distant future, and is a solution which every farmer can adopt. And lakhs of farmers in the country, quite a lot of them in Andhra Pradesh, but everywhere in the country have adopted and benefited from it. So the challenge is basically taking this to every farmer in the country and staying with them till the transition process completed. And this is the most daunting task. In Andhra Pradesh, we started this work 7 years ago, and in this period of 7 years, we have 14% of farmers in the state who are on this journey. So 850,000 farmers have started this journey, and of them, around 270,000 farmers have become completely organic. So about 5% farmers of the state. Now, when you compare this to the world average, it's about 1% farmers. So that's the kind of task ahead. And we have a footprint in about 28% of the villages in the state, covering all the districts and all the mandals. So before I share as to how we move the needle, I just want to very briefly tell you what are the principles of natural farming This is not traditional agriculture, but the idiom is traditional, but it's not entirely traditional agriculture. And the science of this is still evolving. So there's a lot of research happening on the soil microbiome. And I think it's only after COVID we realized what one virus can do. And ma'am, incidentally, during COVID, it was your voice which used to keep us, less worried. So this science of what the microbes can do, microbes in soil, microbes in plants, microbes in animals, human beings, and the fact that so many things are mediated by them, this science is still evolving. And these 9 principles I talk about are universal principles. They apply everywhere, not only in India, but apply everywhere in the world. And this is about photosynthesis. So maximizing photosynthesis. That means have a green cover all 365 days of the year. Have crop diversity, because what science is saying that plants are feeding the soil and then getting nutrients from the soil. So it's a two-way process. And then minimize the tillage, no barren soil, covered with crop residue mulch, farmers to use own seeds, integration of animals with farming, use of biostimulants, not biofertilizers. Traditional agriculture was all about using tons of organic fertilizer. So natural farming doesn't need that, doesn't need a gram of fertilizer, either organic or synthetic. The biostimulants are basically to catalyze soil biology, which enables the nutrients to be available to the plants. Use of biopesticides to manage pests, and finally strictly no synthetic chemicals. So these are very simple nature mimicking principles and easy to practice. But there is tremendous science behind them, which enable these to answer these multiple crises. So what is our innovation? This knowledge is available. Our innovation is basically scaling it up and providing that continuous hand-holding to farmers during the transition. This is not financial support, it is hand-holding support, technical hand-holding support, troubleshooting. So being with them throughout this transformation, it takes anywhere 3 to 5 years for individual farmers to navigate this transition, and that's when they require a lot of support. And a village may take 8 to 10 years to become a bio-village. So what helped us to do this? And there are about 5 levers, but first and foremost is the government of Andhra Pradesh, like many state governments, invested in rural women collectives. So the women self-help groups, their federations. So in Andhra Pradesh, 90% of rural women are organized into self-help groups and federations. And they are our main source of support, transformation, leadership. So we owe everything to these women. Then the extension agent is a farmer herself. So champion farmers. So best practicing farmers are the trainers. It's not dependent on what degree you got in college, it's how well did you do farming and are you interested in helping others. So we have 10,000 such champion farmers. It takes us about 2, 3, 4 years to develop one such champion farmers, and more than 50% of them are women. And the knowledge I just mentioned, the knowledge which is nature friendly and rooted in science. And then we have partnerships which helped us, NGOs, scientific institutions, philanthropies, global institutions. We received resource support from Azim Premji Foundation and Co-Impact. And the 5th pillar, which is very important for scale, is the government. So the state government, government of Andhra Pradesh, our Honorable Chief Minister's unstinting support to this transformation. And government support provides legitimacy, financial resources, the convening power and scale. And then it has helped us to put this together. And the impacts of this, the farmers who are on this journey, they have seen reduced costs of cultivation, low yield penalties, and increased economic returns, increasing cropping intensity. So we have farmers in rain-fed situation who can actually take 3 crops in a year without irrigation support. And increasing crop diversity, drought proofing, flood and cyclone resilience, soil regeneration, water conservation, producing more food which is safe and more nutritious. So as you can see, just by mimicking Mother Nature, we have impacts on multiple dimensions. So it's not treating each one of them as a separate crisis. You need a solution which solves all the crises together and in a very short period of time. And our technology is continuously evolving. We have support from global institutions, national institutions, and most important, our farmers. Every farmer is a scientist. So this continuous dialogue is helping us to move ahead of the game. And one of our biggest breakthrough, in fact, I requested Honorable Member of Parliament to come and see for herself, and invitation is for every one of you, is how in semi-arid areas, rain-fed areas, farmers are able to take 3 crops in a year. We are able to see a very remarkable breakthrough, which is also considered as a global breakthrough. We are able to demonstrate that natural farming enables plants to harness water from the air. So there's still a lot of research going in. So we're also looking at landless farmers, women self-help groups from those households who don't have land. So we have a model which we call ATM model, anytime money. So very small extents. Mr. Nayak, who has come, is the author of that model. So with just 1/5 of an acre, farmers are able to take 10,000 to 25,000 rupees per month from 18 to 20 different kinds of vegetables. And money comes every month. That's why it's called ATM. So our outlier farmers like this are getting 3 to 5 times the incomes of their neighbors. And this is just a beginning. So these farmers are enabling us to dream that our farmers, every farmer, should earn decent incomes and earn income every month. So 25,000 to 50,000 rupees per month they should earn and be food secure. This transformation is knowledge intensive. It's not purchasing some inputs, it's the mindset change, So to strengthen this, we have in 2022 started the Indo-German Global Academy for Agroecology Research and Learning. We received a generous support of 20 million euros from the government of Germany and a matching grant from the state government. And very recently, 3 months ago, we started a 4-year farmer scientist graduation course. So this is all practicing farmers who have transited to natural farming. And it's a 4-year course. 70% of it is field work only in their own farms. And in these 4 years, they have to become model farmers. So they have to earn 50,000 rupees per month as not just, reading and passing the exam. So they have to be model farmers. And in turn, they have to support another 50 farmers in that village into becoming champion farmer trainers. So over the next 10 years, we hope with about 1 farmer scientist in every village and 50 model farmers in every village, we can create climate resilient villages. And that is our hope. And more than 50% of these farmer scientists are women. So this trained human resource network is our hope for fighting the climate battle. We're also hoping to start a natural farming university shortly. So based on our results and the results of some of our outlier farmers, we are determined to reach all our 60 lakh farmers in the next 10 years. So 14% to 100% in 10 years. It's an audacious goal, but we are determined to do it. Our farmer heroes are there pushing us. We are also supporting many other states, and also now many countries are looking to us for technical support. And this award is very special. This award helps us to push the needle further, helps us immensely in taking our work forward. It will strengthen our resolve to fulfill Dr. Swaminathan's vision of an evergreen revolution in practice. The principles of evergreen revolution form the bedrock of the natural farming movement in Andhra Pradesh. Thanks a lot once again. I am grateful to Madam Kanimori, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and Rotarians, all of you, for this honor. I'm proud to accept the Dr. Swaminathan Award for Environment Protection 2023 on behalf of our farmer heroes and our women self-help groups. My pranams to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan for his inspiration. I want to end with one quotation. I use it in all my presentations. It's worth repeating. We don't inherit Mother Earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So we have to answer our children. Thank you.
Can I request Rotarian Sudha Sudeep to introduce the guest of honor, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan.
Distinguished guests on dais and fellow Rotarians. It is with great pleasure and profound admiration that I stand before you this evening to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. Dr. Swaminathan was most recently WHO's Chief Scientist and before that the Deputy Director General for Programs. As WHO's inaugural Chief Scientist, Dr. Swaminathan built the Science Division with a focus on research, quality assurance of norms and standards and digital health. She played a key role during the pandemic in coordinating scientific efforts at the WHO as well as in setting up COVAX. As a pediatrician from India and a globally recognized researcher on TB and HIV, she brings with her 30 years of experience in clinical care and research and has worked throughout her career to translate research into impactful programs. Dr. Swaminathan was Secretary to the Government of India for Health Research and Director General of the Indian Council of Medical Research from 2015 to 2017, where she focused on bringing science and evidence into health policy making, building research capacity in Indian medical schools, and forging partnerships in health sciences. From 2009 to 2011, she also served as a coordinator of the UNICEF UNDP World Bank WHO Special Program for Research and Training in Tropical Diseases, Geneva. She received her academic training in India, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America, and has published more than 450 peer-reviewed publications and book chapters. She's a fellow of the US National Academy of Medicine, the Academy of Medical Sciences of the UK, and a fellow of all the science academies in India. She has received several honorary doctorates, including from EPFL, Lausanne, and the London School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. She serves on several national and global advisory bodies and committees and is an adjunct professor at Karolinska University in Sweden and Tufts University in Boston, USA. Ma'am, thank you for gracing this occasion with your presence, and we eagerly anticipate the wisdom and inspiration you will impart to us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm and enthusiastic welcome with a huge round of applause to our distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone, chief guest of the evening, Ms. Kanimori, Member of Parliament, Mr. Babu Krishnamurthy, President of RCME, the MS Swaminathan awardee of today, Shri Vijay Kumar, fellow Rotarians, Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, with whose support this award has been established. First of all, let me congratulate the Rotary Club of Madras East for this tradition that has now entered its 28th year, I believe, and the fact that they created and instituted an award in the name of Professor M.S. Swaminathan to honor people who have contributed in the areas of environmental protection, both nationally but also globally. And we heard some of the names of people who've been previous awardees. It's a very long and distinguished list of awardees, and congratulations to Shri Vijay Kumar ji for being the latest recipient of this award. Thanks also to C.K. Ranganathan ji for having helped the RCMA to institute this award and to continue it over so many years. In fact, I was mentioning to my father that I'll be coming here this evening, and he was keen to come himself. So, you know, the spirit is still very willing, but of course physically he's really not able to withstand going out for long functions and so on. But he was very happy that this ceremony is taking place today, and he conveyed his best wishes and greetings to all the members of the club, and also to the awardee, who of course had a chance to meet him this morning along with Ushaji. So it's, I think, having instituted this award, it shows the commitment of this club to environmental issues. We've heard from previous speakers, including the president, as well as from Shri Vijay Kumar, about the threats, environmental threats that are before us today. And the most concerning aspect, of course, is that it affects human beings, it affects all of us. It is not something abstract, which is only affecting polar bears in the Arctic, though very often those are the images that are shown on television. It's the polar bears, it's the emperor penguins, it is many of the wildlife. You know, of course we know that species are getting extinct at a very rapid rate, but ultimately I think human beings are selfish, and we will only act when we realize that it's going to harm us. And certainly it's an existential threat for our very existence. But we're not going to get wiped out that quickly. I met a young person. You know that there are many young people today who are very, very concerned. In fact, there's a whole discipline now that talks about eco-anxiety among the young, because they don't know what sort of future planet they're going to live on. And we have seen activists from around the world, you know, young people of 15, 16, 17 years old, and some of them are very, very extreme in their views. So one such young girl I met was given up studies, given up everything, and I asked her why. And she said that the best thing would be for the planet to end, because she feels that the only solution now is extinction of human beings, that there is no other solution left. So that is the extreme anxiety and depression which young people face today. Of course, it's a very extreme case, but the fact is that our generation has actually failed to act. And at the global level, we know that there are many things which happen. There are a lot of negotiations and discussions. Some of them are successful, some of them are not so successful. But I think we have to think of acting at the local level. What can we do? And we shouldn't wait for others to act, something what also Shri Vijay Kumar ji was stressing. And my father always used to say that if there is a problem, then there is also a solution. Man made the problem, man has to also find the solution. And he used to use it for agriculture also, by saying that if there are agricultural maladies, then the remedies will also come from agriculture. And we heard an example of how to overcome the overuse of chemicals. When I was in ICMR, in fact, we had commissioned a very large study to look at the pesticide levels in blood and body fluids of farming families. And that study has taken many years. Of course, the COVID pandemic had also come in between, but I think the results are now being analyzed, and we will see what it is, but we can guess because of the ubiquitous presence of pesticides, of course chemical fertilizers, but also antibiotics and other things which are used in aquaculture and agriculture and so on, in livestock farming, poultry, that we are constantly exposed to these chemicals, and we still don't understand the full impact on our human bodies. We see trends, for example, we see trends of cancer increasing. We're all talking about the fact that the rates of cancer, particularly certain cancers, are increasing very rapidly. We talk about the autoimmune diseases increasing, we talk about dementia and other neurological diseases. We also talk about the cognitive impairment and anemia that could be caused by exposure to lead and other heavy metals in the environment. But it's very difficult for each thing to have a cause and effect. But overall, when we see the exposure to air pollution, the exposure to environmental contamination, it is very clear. Endocrine system is another one, endocrine disruption. So many young people today face problems of not only infertility, but also other kinds of endocrine dysfunction. So all this is related to the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and therefore we need to think about how to reverse some of the changes that we've made. So I hope that the club will set a precedent by perhaps taking up projects and actions where something can be done at the local level, actually, to show some change in some parameter. And there are many things that can be done even in the city of Chennai. Okay, we are not in a rural agricultural place, but many things in the city which need to be addressed around the issues of environmental exposure, and particularly it impacts people in low income settings, because they have less, they have worse, poorer housing, less access to safe water and sanitation. They also have more exposure to environmental contaminants. And so we could think of projects which could be undertaken, for example, heat protection against heat stress. It's going to be a major issue in places like Chennai. We have seen prolonged heat waves occurring in many parts of India this year, the previous year, etc. And again, that starts having an impact on the body. Productivity goes down, and even worse things can happen. We have seen also heat stroke and heat deaths occurring at an increasing rate because people are not aware, they don't know, We've done very well in terms of protection against cyclones and disaster. You don't hardly hear of anybody losing their lives today in a cyclonic storm because of the excellent predictive capacity of the Met Department, and the fact that there is a good protocol in place for implementing so that people are evacuated and lives are not lost anymore compared to what used to happen in the past. We all remember the super cyclone in Odisha in '99. So huge progress there, but not as much in addressing some of the longer term and chronic stressors like heat, for example, or air pollution, or exposure to things like lead in the environment, which I think is a very under-recognized problem in India, but maybe accounting for quite a lot of the cognitive defects. And if young children who are growing up are exposed to lead, there's a lot of battery recycling, unsafe that happens. We still have lead mixed in paint, etc. So it's not 100% lead free, and it's also in our food items like turmeric. Bangladesh, in fact, had a big program where they found a lot of lead contamination in turmeric because it gives a bright yellow color when they mix lead chromate. And when they put in a strong regulation implemented, they found a huge reduction in the exposure to lead, especially in children and women. Similarly, in the US, they documented that when they moved from leaded to unleaded petrol, there was a massive reduction in the blood lead levels. School learnings improved. And The Economist recently had an article where they predicted that just by addressing lead alone, the IQ levels or the learning levels of young children in low-income countries could go up by several points and be comparable to that in higher income countries. So I think we have to start thinking and also looking for the data, collecting the evidence, but then addressing it. You find the solution and address it. So the MSSRF will be very happy to work with the RCME to maybe think about some of these innovative projects which could become a proof of concept for the government. And I think Vijay Kumarji mentioned that for scaling you need government, but for proof of concept, a group of committed people can actually do it. So on behalf of the foundation and also on behalf of my father, I would like to convey our greetings and congratulations and best wishes for this club to keep growing and achieving more and more in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. Can I request Secretary Rotarian Revati Sanjeev?
And a poet. She worked as a sub-editor for The Hindu and also as a featured editor for the Singapore-based newspaper Tamil News. Her journey as a poet is well known in the literary circles of India, not only for her Tamil poetry writing, but also for having translated literary works from other writers and poets from languages such as English, Malayalam, Kannada, and Telugu. To spread the love for Tamil, she has also taken it upon herself to translate many creations in Tamil poetry into English. She's been a Lok Sabha member from Thoothukudi constituency since 2019. Between 2007 and 19, she was also a Rajya Sabha member. She has taken on the responsibility of the General Secretary of the DMK party and the Secretary of the DMK Women's Wing. She has expressed her support and voiced her concern for the poor, the marginalized, and the disadvantaged people. She spoke in support of the Right to Education Bill in 2009. She demanded an amendment to POSCO Act in order to help victims of child abuse and also the national level documentation for pedophiles. Dr. Kanimozhi conceptualized and organized the Tamil Cultural Festival, Chennai Sangamam. I think most of us would remember that, showcasing Tamil Nadu's long-lost traditional art forms. It was a resounding success with more than 1,200 performers igniting the spirit of Chennai through their performances in parks, streets, and public areas. She organized a job fair where more than 1.32 lakh youth found employment in 7 districts across Tamil Nadu. She has been instrumental in conducting a 2-day workshop on leadership skills for women panchayat leaders. Dr. Kanimozhi is extremely passionate about the welfare for the marginalized people. She has worked actively towards the cause of transgender people with the Tamil Nadu government. Tamil Nadu has the distinction of being the first state to create a separate welfare board for transgenders and another department for differently abled people which comes directly under the supervision of the Chief Minister. As her name suggests, Kanimozhi has a speech style that is as sweet as a fruit. And she's a prolific speaker. So please put your hands together for this evening's chief guest, Dr. Kanimozhi.
Vanakkam. Good evening to everybody. I'm very happy and proud to be here to present this award which was given in the name of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. I'm very proud here, and I had the privilege of working with Dr. M.S. Swaminathan when he was in Parliament, and both of us were in Rajya Sabha together. And we've all learned so much from him by listening to him and interacting with him, and it was a great pleasure, and he was like a teacher to us. We used to go to him when we wanted to understand a bill, or if we had a different opinion about some policy, agricultural policy which the government was bringing. And he always used to surprise us by his point of view, which you would traditionally expect him to respond to a bill in a particular way. But he was a person who always had the way of looking at things from different angles, and he was always up to date, and he always had a different way of looking at things from the rest of us, and that way he was an amazing teacher. And today an award has been given in his name, and it's a great moment for me. And I'd also like to congratulate the club, the Rotary Club of Madras East, for giving this award, for understanding the importance of environment, and for giving this award for consistently for 28 years. And I also congratulate the President Babu Krishnamurthy, the Secretary Revati Sanjeev, and the Director Rajesh Sundarani, and of course Dr. Soumya for her amazing speech, and also the person of the moment of the day, Shri Vijay Kumar Tallam, for his exceptional work and for the change he has brought in. Because today, when we talk about environment, we talk about what individuals can do. From small things like closing your tap and reducing water usage, and using less plastics and things like that. But I also think the most important thing is that we have to look at policy change. We have to make the governments listen to us. Because individuals no longer can stop what is happening to the world. The whole world has to think differently. The governments have to think differently. And this indiscriminate and the killing of the nature, the environment, in state levels, in national levels, all over the world has to happen. And from a person, an officer of the government, to do this, and it's not easy for a government officer, IAS officer, to talk about environment, to talk about natural farming. I understand how much he should have gone through, because sometimes when we raise questions about environment and climate change, it's like talking to the walls sometimes. So I can understand that, because the only thing a government understands, and I think it is fair enough also, is that we have to feed the entire population. Nobody should go hungry. So that is the basic premise in which most of the governments work. And there is a fear that if you move to natural farming, organic farming, sustainable farming, then the food production will become less, and then we will be stuck, and we will not be, and people will be going hungry. So that is why I think this using of chemical fertilizers have been brought in and pushed down the throats of the farmers and the people. I used to be in the committee of for chemicals and fertilizers as a chairperson, and every time we travelled and met farmers, we always saw that the more urea you use, the crops look much better. I don't know, it's not always the case that the yield is better, but the crops looks greener and better, and they feel, more secure and safer, and they believe that the production is going to be much better. So when they are advised to use 50 kilos, they empty the entire sack into the field. So one whole sack of urea is emptied into the field, and this is what we've been encouraging the farmers to do also. So finally, I think the department had to reduce the number of kilos in a sack of urea to reduce the amount of urea which is being used. Same when it comes to the pesticides, because the fear is there that the crops, the production is not going to be as much as it has to be, and Indian farmer, is always in debts. So this has been pushing people to use fertilizers, to use chemical fertilizers, to use pesticides more than what is needed. And I'm not saying that there is any need to use, but still, even much more than what. And what happens to, of course, when you consume this food, it goes into our system. And what happens to the rest of the fertilizers, the pesticides, everything which is in the soil? When there is rains, it goes into the sea. So now we ensure that these pesticides, these fertilizers, these chemicals are there in the air, in the water, in the seas, in our soil, in our food, and in our bodies. So this is like a vicious cycle which goes on and on and on, and it's just not food production. In everything, when we look at power sector, we are still pushing for thermal power, and we don't understand that what damage we're doing to the entire world. And at this point, it is amazing that somebody has been able to stop this. When Mr. Vijay Kumar spoke, he said 14% of their farmers have stopped using pesticides and chemical fertilizers, and they've shifted to natural farming. I think it's a really, maybe it's 1% when you talk about it in the larger scale of things, but I think it's a huge number when we look at other states and other places. Because to convince a farmer who's, again, I like to say, always in debts, always lives with fear about tomorrow, to convince them and to make them understand that there is an alternate way, and to ensure that nothing goes wrong, and to ensure that 14% of a state's farming community has the confidence to shift. I think that is an amazing achievement, and I really hope, I'm going to take him on his invitation, and because I come from my constituency, Thuthukudi, it's always water-starved. If anybody happens to travel that side, if you look down from your plane, you can always see light, dark, and red color patches of land, and that's all mostly what you see from the flight. That is Thuthukudi for you. So for places like this, I think it is very important that we have to look at sustain, because paddy or sugarcane, and most of the kind of agriculture we are doing today is water intensive also, and we are starved for water. There are so many disputes, there are so many issues, and the problem is the truth that we do not have enough water for cultivation, for drinking, and with climate change, the problem is intensifying. So, different alternate methods which are sustainable has to be taken into account, because with climate change, food production in the traditional methods, which we come to believe as traditional, is going to suffer to a great extent. And always when there's a change for the worse, it is always the people who are underprivileged who are going to be the worst hit. And when there are climate refugees, people are, we know with climate change and water, the seas rising, people in the coastal areas are going to be affected the most. They have to move because their homes are going to be eroded because of the water rising. The fisher people are going to be the worst hit first. So when there are going to be climate refugees, and how are we going to deal with their food needs? How are we going to solve the issues which they face? So we have to think about alternate methods. We have to think about sustainable methods of life, just not food production. And like when Dr. Soumya spoke and she mentioned that there is an eco-anxiety in the minds of all the younger people we see today. They think there's no future, no hope. When you talk to them, there's so much anger against us because they believe that we've ruined the earth for them. So I think it is fair that people who've done this to them have to stop, think, and start changing the way we think, and start changing our policies and do our best to stop climate change and give back this earth the way they deserve to have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thanthi. Can I request Rotarian C.K. Adithanar to come to the dais and present the memento to the guest of honor, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, please. Please give the memento to the chief guest also. Can I request Rotarian Muthu to please deliver the vote of thanks?
Dear all, good evening. I stand here today as the President-elect of the Rotary Club of Madrasis to extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation for being part of this remarkable evening, celebrating the Dr. M.S. Swaminathan Award for Environmental Protection. This event has truly been a testament to the power of collective action and dedication to a sustainable future. First and foremost, I would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to the Rotary Club of Madrasis for organizing this prestigious award ceremony. Your commitment to recognizing and honoring those who make a significant contribution to environmental protection is a shining example of Rotary's dedication to serving our communities and world at large. I am humbled by the presence of our esteemed awardee, Shri Vijay Kumar, a retired IAS officer with unwavering dedication to environmental preservation, has led
Hey, சாப்பிட போற வழிப்பா சாப்பிட போற வழிப்பா ஓகேம்மா ஓகேம்மா கம்முன்னு வாம்மா ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ண
இதுக்கு மேலே பேச ஒன்றும் இல்லை. தேங்க்ஸ்ண்ணா. ஃபோன் அடிச்சிடலாம். முன்னாடி போயிட்டேன் ஒயிட் இப்போ யார் போகிறேன் போனேன் வாம்போடு ஆ வாம் அடிச்சு அப்படி இல்லை இல்லை வாம் லேடி வாம் கரெக்டாக இருக்கு. ஆ ஓகேண்ணா சூப்பர் 280 நல்லா இருக்குப்பா. அப்படியே கேபிள் அங்கே இருக்குது நம்ம கேபிள் பேக் வந்து இருக்குது. லென்த் கேபிள் அங்கே வெளியே சுற்றிட்டு லென்த் கேபிள் வந்தேண்ணா போதுண்ணா அண்ணத்தை வந்தேண்ணா. வர்றேன் அப்படியே வீட்டில் இருக்கீங்களா? ஐயா பாப்பா 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 அம்மாடி ஒரு 3 வருஷம் செட்டில் முடிஞ்சிச்சு. பாப்பா வேலைக்கு இருந்தால் அவனை தான் முடிஞ்சு போச்சு. நம்ம சின்ன ஒரு அவனை கொண்டு வருவோம். பார்த்து